Hey everyone, I'm Remy. I'm 23 and I'm a queer and trans activist and academic in Minneapolis. This is also video homework, so I'm going to be using a guide to help me over here and then kind of doing the math of synthesizing this all as I go, So I hope you'll forgive me and I'll try to keep it short. But enough about me. How are you? No, really, I know I don't know you very well, and I guess this may sound like kind of a serious start, but I really hope that you've had or have planned at least one moment in your day when you're reminded of how beautiful life can be. I really mean it, It can be seriously life-saving to have something to look forward to or something to keep you moving, a goal. And I hope that I can, through this performance, also show that in queer time, today and tomorrow, can both be strategically deployed to our collective advantage, in concert or solo, depending on your perspective. In summary, I've been inspired to respond to the It Gets Better project by working with strategies from Jasbir Puar's preface to the book Terrorist Assemblages, Homonationalism in Queer Times, as well as writing from Yasmin Nair, titled Queer Suicides Complicate the Issue, and finally the Queering Desire 2010 blog by Ava on the subject of It Gets Better. Don't forget to check out those and other links below me. So, first, writing on the issue of recent media coverage of suicides predominantly identified as of white, gay, cisgender youth, Yasmin Nair explains, "What we are witnessing is the ongoing reality of what it means to be queer in a world where we forgo complicated, systemic analyses of our issues in favor of simplistic and sentimental rhetoric about love and bravery conquering all." I'm going to repeat that because it's pretty crucial for the theory I want to perform today in ways that people can feel, and then we'll trace another path to get back to that criticism later. What we are witnessing is the ongoing reality of what it means to be queer in a world where we forgo complicated, systemic analyses of our issues in favor of simplistic and sentimental rhetoric about love and bravery conquering all. And I think this means that we need to reevaluate our strategies as any sort of a social justice struggle, folks. So, to move back a bit, I should say that I do agree that no matter your sexual identity or how you describe or perform your gender, or, so crucial, how your sexuality or gender gets read or interpreted by the people around you, if you're depressed or struggling with intense emotions, you do need to hear that you're not alone, that there are always hope and help and people around you. People who find it gets better while thinking about suicide need to know that there are emergency resources a phone call away, and that there are even ones specifically conceptualized to respect what you're going through in relation to sexuality, and, I would hope, also gender, race, ethnicity, class, ability, and all the other messy and beautiful identities you carry with you. Speaking of beauty, Kate Bornstein's It Gets Better video sharply points to a multitude of fun things you can do as alternatives to suicide, and lots of great and detailed ideas are also in Kate's book, Hello Cruel World, as well as on Kate's blog, and on Twitter, and collectively archived on Twitter under the hashtag, that's a £, and then stay alive, all one word. The only rule Auntie Kate ever asked you to follow is simply, don't be mean. That said, this particular narrative isn't intended to reveal my struggles with pronouns, school, parents, hormones, or surgery. I think telling stories about painful experiences I've had can be a sweet gesture, and it definitely has an important place in shaping collective queer and trans identities, especially on a local level. But it can also diminish what people are feeling right now, in high school or not, or it can remind folks of or trigger feelings related to their past experiences. So, similar and yet different than the rising number of folks I see already critiquing the campaign, I'm kind of rolling around in my mind a different idea of what it might mean to complicate ideas that things can get better. And I'm also confident that there are other trans and queer folks sharing all sorts of different personal narratives and critiques across YouTube and on a plethora of blogs and websites. I'll link to more of them below me here as well. Please seek them out if you want to hear individual stories relating to queer and trans life getting better or complicating that idea. I want to go theoretically a little bit deeper and still try to maintain my respect for this project, which I think has good intentions and will certainly reach many people in some way. The complexities of which identities are included and excluded aside, only very briefly, if it saves one life, the It Gets Better project has some value. Now, let's take a breath and move past that surface analysis of current visible events related to GLBT youth suicide. And, my job, I guess, although I'm working with and alongside some dense theory, is to make this act and these stakes as immediately clear as possible. So there are just too many folks for whom the It Gets Better project is not working. According to Lisa Harney on the blog Questioning Transphobia, this is part of the reason I'm not entirely thrilled with the It Gets Better campaign, that for a lot of us, meaning trans folks, it simply does not. Central, in fact, to most oppositional responses is the idea that it gets better is not the correct or best message, or that it basically misses the point and may do harm as well as good. So what is it about this phrase that has struck such an undeniably tense chord at the heart of GLBT politics? Well, I think this might be related. Jasbir Puar asks her readers to consider the following critical question. If we feel that things are calm, what must we forget in order to inhabit such a restful feeling? In the past month of media and fundraising frenzy reflecting death, I think we must have forgotten a long list of details. That life is not static, but dynamic. That oppression operates on the level of systems, that it isn't about bad individuals acting as bullies, but the bullies too are shaped by their violent surroundings, and that putting other identity categories, like rural or Christian, down does not very sustainably uplift queer and trans narratives. So, if we feel that things are calm, what must we forget in order to inhabit such a restful feeling? Life is not static, but dynamic. It's always changing, always in motion, and moving through struggles for identity can help to illuminate personal triumphs and strength and show how things have gotten better for certain people. But it also moves our focus and goals away from systemic oppression. Again, this isn't just about bad individuals acting as bullies, nor about good subjects just getting a rough shake of the deal. This is about huge whole networks of societal and large-scale failures to deal with gender and sexuality. This isn't about putting other people, rural people, Christian people, etc., down in order to elevate the awesomeness of queer or trans lives. Or maybe that's just rich white gay lives. But honestly, it's also incredibly dangerous to perpetuate a view that everything is settled for an arbitrary group of GLBT adults, while another category over here, called GLBT youth, must necessarily work through some complexities of life and identity on the ground, so to speak. I'm thinking of fundamentally the same reason I don't agree with separation of my theory and activism. Power is not just top-down. There's lots of work left to do to change this world, so there are certainly more complex narratives from which to learn than those like that of Dan Savage and partner Terry that reify, for example, stereotypes about rural and or religious communities being uniformly discriminate and in opposition to urban and or bar communities which are universally welcoming and safe. In this formula, bullies can easily be written off as wrong or evil actors. But remember that for bullies too, cultural negotiation and oppression by dominant systems of power play their large roles in shaping identity and actions. What's more, we really need to examine how through that old logic, justice becomes flatly asserted as love, and bravery, inevitably but only vaguely winning, while truth is cast off as ugly, difficult, hard to look at, and ultimately easier to forget. What does all this mean? Well, I think you already know. You should just do more than say, it gets or it got better. Don't let death be a media spectacle, Take compassionate action and do something to disrupt the cycle. In thoughtful response, multiple other groups have taken up other messages, right, which to them appear as pressing. For example, the Make It Better project, focused on empowering youth action, and the project Put It on the Map, a group of youth leaders that developed a movie and training called Reteaching Gender and Sexuality. It's pretty amazing. The present may be safe for nonconformity, but honestly, so may the future, if we don't work together. Both hold radical potential right now, and this utopic future we're working toward. So my hope is that maybe we can work and not devalue either, but instead look at their separate and collective roles in building space for queer and trans lives and all sorts of ways of being. many strategies with shared goals of liberation. As another blogger, Femfane, has so eloquently put this near the middle of a post, instead of narratives of suffering and then finally success, a celebration of the pain and pleasure throughout.